Hey, Fidelity. How can I remember to invest every month?
With the Fidelity app, you can choose a schedule and set up recurring investments in stocks and ETFs.
Oh, that sounds easier than I thought.
You got this.
Yeah, I do. Now, where did I put my keys?
You will find them where you left them.
Investing involves risk, including risk of loss. Fidelity Brokerage Services, LLC, member NYSE, SIPC.
The Greg Kelly Show.
What songs I like and don't like. The Dreary Dire Straits. They mumble in all the songs. I'll put this with that other band that people are crazy about. Pink Floyd. It doesn't matter. Thank you, Lou. What does matter is airplanes are falling out of the sky, and it's the weirdest thing I've seen in a long time. It's actually weirder than the drones. The drone situation, which wasn't fake, by the way. There's something totally up with that. The drone matter is not over, although it's receiving a little bit less attention. I've got my people in New Jersey who are still seeing these Volkswagen-sized things hovering over their house. Think about it. Washington, D.C., January 29th, 67 dead when that plane crashed with the Army helicopter. In Philadelphia, 7 killed, many on the ground, 24 injured, in that horrific plane crash. There was an Ohio plane crash. A medium-sized plane flips over on its side. In Arkansas, another plane crash under rather mysterious circumstances. California, February 9th, another plane breaks apart. Alaska, the airliner. Actually, we haven't heard much about this one. 10 people killed. In Scottsdale, Arizona, on February 10th, another plane exploding. New Hampshire, another plane just crashing into the ground. An F-18 fighter jet in San Diego, nosing right into the water at about 500 miles per hour. Haven't seen that kind of plane crash unless it was deliberate, although the pilots did get out. Another one in Florida, 1 person killed, Texas plane crash. February 16th, the Toronto plane crash. You saw that damn thing. Hey, did you hear? What's the compensation? You're in a plane crash. What do you get? Well, apparently there's an international treaty on these matters. Everybody on the plane immediately gets $30,000. No questions asked, and you don't have to sign anything. It's not like you can still sue. You can still sue the pilots. You can still sue the airline. But you get $30,000 for immediate expenses. I think that's somewhat decent of the airline, quite frankly. You know, everyone's afraid of litigation, this, that, and the other thing. If you write a check, is that an admission of wrongdoing? So they, give everybody on the plane a nice big $30,000 check. For starters, that's not bad. They may have a lot of explaining to do because it looks like this subcontracted airline, Endeavor Airlines, it says Delta right on the side of the plane. But the way these things work and liability, and they rent planes and they subdivide and they subcontract, the airline is actually called Endeavor Airlines. Now there's a growing kind of consensus out there, or a suspicion that the crew may have been woke. I know some female pilots, by the way. I went to flight school with some of them. They were great. I have absolutely no beef. Some pilots are great. Some pilots are terrible, male or female. Actually, you don't have too many terrible pilots. You can't be a terrible pilot. They will fail you out of flight school before you actually become an active duty terrible pilot. They won't let that happen. You have some mediocre pilots, but that doesn't mean they can't fly and whatever. But when you make it all about gender, when you make it all about race, when you make it all about what's on the outside and not what is on the inside, you rush to hire people, you make mistakes. And I just can't stand anybody, male, female, well, sometimes under very, very, very specific circumstances, is it okay to hang out and bro it out? You know what I mean? With your fellas, with your guys. Hey, isn't it great to be a man? That's not quite frankly what I would do. I don't like to, I find a room less interesting, quite frankly, if there aren't a few women in it. You know what I mean? It's gotta like, otherwise, a little bit, what's the point? I think that they have a nice effect on the environment. A little bit. Is that sexist? No. But you can't be at work. You can't be in a hospital. You can't be at an airline. You can't be in a school. You can't be anywhere expressing pride in your gender and your orientation. If you want to do that at home, you want to make TikTok videos at home, fantastic. If you want to do it at work, society should have a problem. And actually, now it does have a problem. It got on our nerves during COVID. Remember those silly videos that they were making, dancing in the hallways, the nurses, the doctors, all that stuff? That was bad enough. And it wasn't sufficiently ridiculed. I did my best in ridicule, but not enough other people ridiculed it. I love that word, ridicule. He subjected me to ridicule. Well, I'm going to subject this to ridicule. Girl pilots dancing up and down all over the place like freaks around some dinky Delta Airlines jet. And the thing that they're all happy about is that there aren't any guys around. They call it an unmanned flight. Every now and then, luck of the draw, there are no fellas on the plane. Well, apparently the girls think that is just awesome. Cut 2, please. Cut 2.
Girls, come on. Leave the saving the world to the men? I don't think so.
Girls excited in the cockpit because there are no guys there. Flight attendants dancing because there are no guys there. A very, well, she's not traditionally flight attendant attractive, wearing a mask, dancing around. It says, no guys on my flight. I'm psyched. 2 girls getting inappropriately close on an airplane. They're both in uniform, flight attendant uniform. Here comes the captain. Looks like something very interesting might happen when they get to Milwaukee, but...
You got into Harvard Law?
What, like it's hard?
These are all silly girl anthem nonsense things. Harvard Law, what was that? What was that with Reese Witherspoon? You get the point, right? You can tell by the feel-good music. We're girls and we're on an airplane tarmac and there are no men. Well, one of you girls apparently crashed the damn plane the other day.
Let's do it.
All right, stop. One of the girls apparently crashed the damn plane the other day. Maybe she was a fine pilot. Maybe she was having an off day. And then again, maybe it's a man. But when you have a video like this, it suggests that the culture, not only of the airline, but of the country, was warped there for a while. It's going to be painful in correcting this. We're going to have some growing pains, right? Hey, another thing that gave us a problem, this gender fixation on gender. Andrew Cuomo. Hey, Louis, we got to find a lieutenant governor. And she's got to be really dumb. It's got to be a woman, but it can't be a good woman. You know what I mean? It can't be a woman with ambition or anybody who's going to outshine me. She's got to be kind of dumb. She can't know her way around. What do we do? Who do we got? Look online as somebody. Do we have anybody who fits that bill? It has to be a little bit of politics, but not too much politics. Do I sound like Andrew Cuomo a little bit? Send in that girl with the cute bun in her hair. I like her a lot. I want to take her on my motorbike someday. That's how they found Kathy Hochul. You have to be particularly stupid to be in a situation where you are raging about a tax that was just canceled. Donald Trump did away in beautiful, spectacular fashion with the congestion pricing. Nobody wanted congestion pricing. Listen to Kathy Hochul lie about it. As if the people wanted this, and this is somehow a defeat for the people. People love that there's no congestion pricing. Kathy wanted to charge everybody $15. And then she canceled it just before the election. Because she knew that New York was actually in trouble. Could go red. Then she brings it back right after the election when it's safe. The coast is clear. Went into effect just a couple of days ago. Let's see here. And it's canceled now. Cut 7, please. Kathy Hochul trying to pretend she's somebody. Cut 7.
And then you have others involved. I mean, it feels like the commuters of our city and our region are now the roadkill on Donald Trump's revenge tour against New York.
Yeah. That was some sort of crowd they assembled together. One of, like those paid people who just stand around and clap. Often they work for unions because they do what they're told. Here she is again. Remember, she is upset that Donald Trump just canceled the congestion pricing thing. When you're the president, you can do things like that. I knew he'd find a way to make it happen. Cut 6. Please.
The streets of the city where battles were fought. We stood up to a king, and we won then. And we were, in case you don't know, New Yorkers, we're in a fight. We do not back down. Not now, not ever. Because who are we fighting for here? We're fighting for our residents, our commuters, our riders, our drivers, our emergency personnel. Life has gotten better. Even those who have asthma, people with illness. That's who we're fighting for.
Nobody on that list wants this stuff, especially people with asthma. I got asthma. Just listen to me. I don't want to pay $15 to go to below 60th Street. In the history of tolls, this has only been done once before in London, England, which is about to go off the cliff because they're all Islamist fundamentalists right now. This has never been done. A toll is meant to pay for the bridge, pay for the upkeep of the bridge. We know that in New York, that's been a fake deal for a long time. They take the money from the bridge and they spend it on this, that, and the other thing, and exorbitant MTA salaries and hiring too many bureaucrats. But at least they confined it to the bridge, to the road, something that was built, something temporary, not to a vast portion of the city. South of 60th Street, charging everybody $9 to $15 to come down there. It was stifling everything. Stifling. It was terrible for the economy, terrible for people. But she doesn't get it because, as Andrew Cuomo made sure, she's dumb. She's a dumb person, Greg. What do I do about it? And she stabbed me in the back. I guess she's not that dumb. Hey, one of my favorite things here. Oh, Mitch McConnell is leaving the United States Senate. Oh, sorry. Mitch McConnell was going to, the end of next year, I will not be running for re-election. I would just like to say what an honor it has been to undermine the MAGA movement for the past 7 years and to do everything I can to thwart Donald Trump. Yeah, Mitch is leaving. It's funny. I was listening to his goodbye announcement, and he kept on talking about his career. His career. And the business of running America, the business. It is a business to these guys. Never mentioned public service and how ambitious he was and how he wanted to be a senator. Not that he wanted to do anything for anybody. And when you get to the Senate, have you ever been there, by the way? Have you ever been to Capitol Hill? Look around. It's like Buckingham Palace. They treat themselves like they are kings and queens and princes. I actually have a videotape. I got to play it for you guys. Of what's his name? Mitch, showing off how many offices he has. Most people have an office, then they go to work. Well, Mitch, I have this office in the Capitol building, and then I have an office in the Russell Senate office building, and then I have another office for the leadership responsibilities that I have, and then I have one for the constituent services. And by the way, an office with a living room and a fireplace. It should be much more Spartan. It should have nothing to do with that stuff, but that's what they do it for. It's interesting. We will find it'll be a whole new crop of people who seek office if you take away the perks, but they will be better. Instead of wanting to be something, these will be people who want to do something, get something accomplished, and then get the hell out of there. What do you think, huh? I think it's, I still think maybe one day, should I run? Should I? Would I? Could I? Not yet. Someday, maybe. I mean, it really means practical things. Look, Curtis had to leave the radio station for crying out loud. So did Wiener. Not hearing too many complaints about that, but no, actually, I like Anthony. In many ways, I do. Very smart. Got a lot to contribute. Frank Morano better win that race. Really like that guy. So no time soon, all right? I'm staying with you guys. Be right back.
Coming in out of the rain and hear the jazz go down. Competition in other places. But the horns, they blowing that sound. Way on down south. Way on down south, London town.
The Greg Kelly Show.
We don't need no education.
Yeah, this is cute. I say specifically I don't like a band.
We don't need no
and they order it up.
control.
Pink Floyd. Thank you, Lou. Let me tell you what I don't like about this. It's a little bit traumatizing for me. I was in 4th grade, and they would sing this song on the bus, right? In the back of the bus. And it would make the bus driver so mad that he would pull over. And I was convinced that some madman terrorist was going to get on the bus and hijack it and drive it off into the woods and bury the bus. Why? 2 reasons. That actually happened in California, believe it or not. That happened in California. Gavin Newsom just pardoned the goddamn bus hijackers. Thanks a lot, Gavin. Buried the bus with the kids in it. And then they put that whole story in a movie, a Clint Eastwood movie. And back then, anything went. We all watched, they put it on a Sunday night on Channel 7, a major television event. Half the country watched the Dirty Harry movie. Blah! Lifetime trauma. That's okay. You're not supposed to know about these things. But that's one of the reasons why I can't stand this. And what are the kids doing? What are we going to do if we don't go to school? I was a little bit, and you know what else I did? I sat next to the bus driver because I thought things would be somehow safer. And if a guy got on the truck, got on the bus, I could run away. I was a very shy, bashful, kind of fraidy cat kid for a long time. I watched too many scary movies. I'm glad I made it through childhood in relatively one piece. There are some idiosyncrasies that persist to this day, but hey, we all have them, right? And we all grow up, kinda. Imagine if you could be a kid again, knowing what you know now. Wouldn't that be something if you can go back to 1st grade with the knowledge, with the personality you have right now? Oh, speaking of which, Donald Trump, he has said publicly that he is the same guy now that he was when he was 5 years old. Isn't that interesting? The same running dialogue that he had going on in his mind at 5, he has going on in his mind right now. And I think that's kind of interesting. It kind of, I think, a little bit applies to every single one of us. I want to tell you about a major moment in the fake news, my coming to realize that the news is fake. Because like everybody else, I read the New York Times. I listened to the news. I thought, well, can't be that bad. Sure, they lean a little bit left or whatever, but I don't, it's still the news. It's still the New York Times. So one of my earliest, most powerful memories of Donald Trump was actually in 2004. I was in the Iraq War, as you may know, as a journalist, right? And I got a lot of bad things happened over there, including some of the journalists that I was with in my unit were killed. A guy named Julio Parada and Christian Liebig, they were killed by a direct hit from a missile. Still not sure where that missile came from. Some people think it could be friendly fire. I had just seen him about 2 hours prior. David Bloom, the NBC guy, remember him in the Bloommobile? He died. I saw him the day before he got wasted. And then Michael Kelly, who wrote for the Atlantic Monthly, very well-known journalist at the time. Michael Kelly, he had been an editor, an impressive writer, just Michael Kelly. He was a big deal in dominant media. So he's in a vehicle at night behind a very big tank, and they start taking fire from the left, right? They just start taking fire. So what they do in his little vehicle, in his little Jeep, his little Humvee, they decide they're going to go next to the tank to protect themselves from the incoming fire. Well, the problem was they were on a very narrow road, and there was a canal right there, a little canal, and they fell into the gosh damn water, and Michael Kelly drowned and died. I couldn't believe it. All these guys, within a matter of 5 days, just started dying all over the place. And guess what? They didn't call off the war. I feel like, hey, wait a second, Michael Kelly, come on, we gotta take a pause or a timeout. Nope. And that's when I really realized, like, man, I could go down and nobody's really going to care. It's just going to be another day at war. Anyway, fast forward about a year or so, and there's a great big fundraiser for Michael Kelly. Beautiful thing, the Kelly Gang, because his name was Kelly. some guys with the name Kelly in media, Keith Kelly, a guy named Ed Kelly, another guy named James Kelly, who edited Time Magazine at the time, all got together and threw a great big fundraiser, the Kelly Gang, and it was at Michael's. And guess who was there? Donald Trump. But he just wasn't there. It's not like he just dropped by. He dedicated or donated his plane to fly the entire Kelly family, Michael Kelly, his children, his wife, widow. They flew all down from Boston in Donald Trump's plane. That's a pretty big donation. I think that's a pretty nice thing to do. And I remember him when he walked into the place. He had an extraordinary presence. The lights and cameras were all on him. This is 2004. This is a decade before politics. And he gets there and there's a lot of buzz around him and it's very cool. And I thought it was great that he did that. So fast forward to the campaign, the 2016 campaign. They're talking about, Donald Trump hates the media, and the media hate him. And it's a profile in the New York Times about where Donald Trump goes and doesn't go. Like when he's not working, what does he like to do? And basically it said he doesn't like to go out. He only stays at home and watches TV. And they have a quote from some media jerk about the Michael's restaurant and how it's a bit of a media hangout, which it is, especially on Wednesday afternoons. Anyway, and the guy says, Donald Trump would never come here because he hates the media so much, and this is a media hangout. I'm like, you sons of bitches. I know I saw him in Michael's. I will never forget that when he walked in. I'll never forget what he did for the Kelly family, donating his plane and also a hell of a lot of money. And then I did it a little further. It's even in the New York damn Times that in 2004, Michael Kelly there was that fundraiser and Donald Trump was there. Even writes about, they don't even know what they know. You know what I mean? They are disgusting, but everybody knows the only problem and the reason why we have to stay on their case is because they still influence not the people, but the government. Not voters, but office holders. They're still, in an odd way, very, very relevant, I'd hate to say. Hey, the J.D. Vance thing, that was very cool. J.D. Vance is speaking out about a bunch of different things, and he's getting on the media's case. J.D. Vance is at CPAC. You ever hear of CPAC? Back to Donald Trump. This is where he kind of revealed himself to be not only conservative, but hugely popular with conservatives. CPAC speech in 2013. I think it might be the first one where he hugged the flag. No, he did that twice. Listen to J.D. Vance, our vice president, who's only 40 freaking years old and will be president someday. It's like kind of guaranteed. Cut 22, please. Cut 22.
I don't even think we can keep track of all the things you all are doing. In fact, I don't even think the press can keep track of all
Who's that hysterical woman?
They talk about the shock and awe strategy. Seriously. So when you're looking at this list after list after list, what stands out to you?
Well, speaking of the press, I do think that we've had maybe more executive orders than CNN has viewers each night. So hello to our friends at CNN. I actually think that their plan was they were going to go all in on anti-Trump and hope that he could save CNN in the same way that he did, frankly, in 2017, because nobody really watched the network until he became president in 2017. But that's maybe the one thing I think the president has been unable to save CNN's ratings over the last few months. But look, I think that what the president has tried to do is recognize that we have a historical mandate on a few issues. We have to secure the southern border, and thanks to his actions, border crossings are down well over 90%, and we're just getting started. And he recognizes that we have to really unlock the engine of American growth. We've got to get back to having a growing economy that creates good jobs and high wages for the American people. And a lot of that goes back to drill, baby, drill. We've done more on energy under President Trump's leadership than I think any administration in history, and that's not an exaggeration. And of course, we're going to do more. And then I think the third thing that he's tried to do, of course, with the help of Elon and all the great folks at Doge, is ask, what are we doing with all of the American taxpayers' money, and why are we wasting so much of it on garbage that the American people either aren't aware that we're spending it on or don't want to be spending it on in the first place? Right. Like, for example, the stuff that we've figured out, Mercedes, is unbelievable. Why are we spending money on progressive modern art projects centered around toilets in Afghanistan. That's actually something that your tax dollars were funding until very recently. And I think all of us are sitting around and asking, what the hell have we been doing with the American people's money for the last 4 years? Let's turn off the spigot and spend the American people's tax money on the American people's priority. And that's, of course, been a big focus of the administration, too.
Well done, J.D. Vance. Big future for that guy. Big future. Oh, look, future. The future is now. He's right in the middle of everything. And it's good. Ooh. Was I wrong about Pete Hegseth? I'm not addressing what I said or didn't say. I said what I said. I'm not taking anything back. However, the guy's got the job. He's Secretary of Defense. And from what I can see, he's doing a very good job. And he's not afraid to pull the trigger on firing CQ Brown. There is a report that there are 6 generals and admirals who are about to be dismissed, including the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, CQ Brown. Now, who is this guy? Well, he is the number one uniformed military officer in the country, the chief military advisor to the President of the United States, and he's a co-conspirator with General Milley in a coup that was waged between 2020 and 2021. And I think this is the proof. That ludicrous over-the-top message. A 4-star general in the middle of Black Lives Matter summer comes out and makes a highly political, highly partisan statement about George Floyd and America. This guy, this general, why would he defend America if he thinks that America is such a crummy place? Here is General Charles C.Q. Brown, Air Force, Chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, and soon, we believe, to be fired. Cut 23, please. Cut 23.
As the Commander of Pacific Air Forces, a senior leader in our Air Force, and an African American, many of you may be wondering what I'm thinking about the current events surrounding the tragic death of George Floyd. Here's what I'm thinking about. I'm thinking about how full I am with emotion, not just for George Floyd, but the many African Americans that have suffered the same fate as George Floyd.
Who?
I'm thinking about protests in my country, 'tis of thee, sweet land of liberty, the equality expressed in our Declaration of Independence and the Constitution that I've sworn my adult life to support and defend. I'm thinking about a history of racial issues and my own experiences that didn't always sing of liberty and equality.
Stop!
I'm thinking about living in two worlds.
Maybe you should quit the military and go to a country where you'd be more comfortable. Get back to us on that one, General. Couple of more. He is seething with rage, and he's wearing a United States Air Force uniform, and he is at work. Keep going.
I'm thinking about my sister and I being the only African Americans in our entire elementary school and trying to fit in. I'm thinking about then going to a high school where roughly half the students were African American and trying to fit in.
There's no pleasing this guy.
I'm thinking about my Air Force career, where I was often the only African American in my squadron, or as a senior officer, the only African American in the room.
Oh, that's because of racism? Sure.
I'm thinking about wearing the same flight suit with the same wings on my chest as my peers, and they being questioned by another military member, are you a pilot?
Oh, he must be racist. Stop for a
thinking
second.
About how
All right, this is so, I am thrilled that this man will be terminated this week. And it's going to be a huge deal. These guys don't lose their jobs midterm. And guess what? In the Air Force, it's hard to tell who's a pilot because they give everybody a freaking flight suit. It's a morale trick. All right, everybody, non-pilots, the nurses get flight suits. Be right back.
The Greg Kelly Show.
You know, basically, I don't like any rock band from Britain. Led Zeppelin, right? Is this Led Zeppelin? I don't like anything. Yeah. American bands. Only American bands on this show, and disco. Fair enough? Fair enough. Not asking for too much. Hey, this CQ Brown thing is wonderful. Nobody called for it publicly other than me, and I'll give him this, Pete Hegseth. He said he would fire his ass given the opportunity, and it looks like he's going down, and I love it. 800-848-9222. 800-848-9222. What's up, Dave Id from New Jersey? Hello. Oh, never mind then. How rude. I want to go back to the, we'll skip that for the moment. Joe Rogan found out something very interesting about climate change, and I seem to be aware of it as well. What's up? Everything all right? Okay. They come in here. Every time they come in here, I think it's 9/11. Like there's news. They came in here like that for Curtis the other day, but it's all understood that he was going to run for mayor, and let's hope he becomes the mayor. I really think it could happen this time. It's not a done deal. He's got his work cut out for him, but who knows? It might rain like crazy on election day. Joe Rogan regarding climate change, and I have reached a new plateau. Climate change is a great big fat hoax. It wasn't just because Joe Rogan said this. Actually, it was because some of you guys, some guy in New Jersey has been following this stuff, looking at it for a long time. I went to that website, and he's afraid to put it up on Facebook. But listen to this. Cut 14, please. Cut 14.
Did you see the Washington Post article that they published recently about temperature change on Earth?
No.
Like what they've realized is over the last, X amount of thousands of years that the temperature on Earth is plummeting.
Yeah.
And it's dropping. And then when they look at the dips, this is the most important thing for anybody that's really freaked out about climate change. There's no static temperature of Earth ever. Mm-hmm. There's never been a time where it maintains a temperature until human beings came along and it all up. Mm-hmm. That is just not real. Mm-hmm. Before human beings ever existed, if you trust these core samples, there's been a giant rise and fall and this constant dip. There it is.
Yeah.
Scientists have captured the Earth's climate over the last 485 million years. Here's a surprising place we stand now. Look at the dip at the end.
Whoa.
That's where we are.
Yeah,
that's reality.
Okay.
And then if you look at the course of history, you look at the rise and fall, like it's never a straight line. Way before human beings ever existed, if you believe these silly people. Way before human beings had ever existed. There's always this rise and fall. And this idea that the whole thing is based on carbon emissions from human beings, it's not true. Right. We might be having an effect, but we're having a small effect, a very small effect. And the other things are completely outside of our control, including solar activity, the distance between the Earth and the sun. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of factors.
Yeah, and that solar activity is the biggest one probably. What do you call it? They call them solar flares and solar storms. You ever seen that? Oh, my gosh, it's really wild. If you Google it, that sun is very, very active. Hey, gosh, I'm sorry, but my uncle died. My mother's brother, Martin Clark, native of Brooklyn, spent a lot of time in Florida, tremendous athlete, and a great big mentor of mine. I guess you could say he was my first sponsor when it came to AA. He got sober long time ago. Like he must have been, I don't know if he was in his late 20s or 30s, and AA became a major part of his life. And when I first started to get an inkling that maybe I'm doing this a little bit too much, maybe I have a problem, I called him. And, it's family, and you can kind of tell family anything, and they're not going to use it against you. And he told me all about AA. I told him what the hell I was doing, what I was going through, and, was it bad? Am I imagining? And he just kind of took me through it all from top to bottom. And he was one of those uncles. He was older than me. He was 73 years old. Too young these days, right? Too young. Very close to my mom. Every family has ups and downs, but over the past decade or so, I know my mom and her sister Ellen, they were all very tight with Marty, and things were going along very, very well. And I saw him over Christmas, and my brother just talked to him the other week. I just saw his son the other day, so at least I'm not fighting those, oh man, I should have talked to him more. You can always talk to somebody more, but it's not like it's been years. It was just a little while ago. So, yeah, it's sad, but death is part of life. I don't know where I heard that, but it kind of makes it a bit more tolerable, somewhat, right? Martin Clark, thank you. Thank you for setting me straight. Thank you for caring. Thank you for making the time. Thank you for being there for my mother over the years and being such a great dad to Martin Clark Jr., who's just killing it out there as an engineer / contractor in the Hamptons. He's got a great, thriving business. The guy can do anything. He can build a house. He can electrify it. He can de-electrify it. It's just it's incredibly impressive. 800-848-9222. 800-848-9222. Did I get my American band? I can't even tell. Oh, yeah, we're an American band, right? Funny thing is, I don't know who sings this. The band? Grand Funk. Huh. Well, can't say I didn't ask for it. Thank you so much. It's all about being an American band. Oh, another thing about my Uncle Marty, I remember. He was an actor. He was a very good actor. He'd been in lots of plays and musicals. And he dated the girl from Star Trek 2. Star Trek 2, the Vulcan. Robin Curtis, I believe her name was in real life. And she was the one that Kirk tried to hook up with but couldn't. Man, when we met her, you can see why my uncle remains a legend to this day in my mind and always will. Thank you, Lou. Be right back.